Yeah. Well, it's good to meet you, man. You got a lot going on with healthcare and just the kind of a relentless drive, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, and I'm no longer in healthcare. That was my previous profession.
Previous, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of putting that in as the
Okay.
box of tools that you have in your life. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Leadership, healthcare, caring for people,
that
serving.
that's it. That's it. Well, speaking of, something that really affected the healthcare world and just everyone in general, 4 years
Hmm.
ago we were trying to figure out this pandemic. How long is it going to last? What's going to be the ramifications? How did you get through that time period, and how did it change the way that you live your life now?
Man, whew, how did I get through it? Well, I think first of all, kind of one of the things my mindset's very um I don't feel like I rush into things. So I think kind of with the same thing with when the pandemic started, I didn't get overly excited. I tend to kind of tamper my emotions when people, I don't care if it's the new Apple Watch, iPhone, whatever, I just don't conjure up the same level of excitement as others do. And I think that kind of helped me. And for me, I think it was just kind of a kind of laid back, let's keep information as it goes. And of course, I was 9 months in when I got laid off. They hadn't developed a vaccine or anything yet, so which is important because in healthcare, they do make you take mandatory vaccines, be it flu, COVID, anything like that. And so I held off on that. And then actually, when vaccines were available, I personally chose not to take them. And since being laid off from healthcare, I have not received any flu vaccines or any COVID vaccines. Even though I go to the same doctor I was seeing at the clinic, I actually managed, and it is recommended. But, truth be told, I haven't really been sick. I had COVID once in 2022, but I have not been nearly a fraction of sickness that I had whenever I was working around sick people all the time.
Wow.
And so I think it's been kind of this, this has helped shape many different things in that um, it kind of helped me maintain a level of skepticism. And that's up for everybody's interpretation and belief of how the pandemic affected you and what you believe about it, whether or not you believe it was um, necessary or not. Both of my grandparents died from COVID subsequently after 2021 and 2022. And so, I do know it's a real thing. I'm not saying it's not real, but for me, it just that patience and whatnot, and kind of given my own um, personal views, I decided that I would just kind of take things at ease and see how things hash out as opposed to running, um, whether it's to toilet paper or vaccines. So, and I kind of use that same protocol with my life now in that, you know, whether it's podcasting, anything, it's a slow go. I do some research. I try to keep things as minimal as possible, like, minimal programs to record, upload, convert files, all that kind of stuff. So I would say from then on, it's like don't rush in, keep things simple, go back to basics, and let's look at the baseline of what is actually going on and, choose our actions and choose our direction from there. Because I definitely think one of my strong suits is taking a bunch of information, reducing it down to sim simplistic, basic steps. You got to have a starting point. And for me, that kind of starting point is just sit back, relax, don't rush, take in the information and decide what's best for you. And I've kind of continued to do that.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do right now in 2024.
Mhm.
I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Well, so I was a healthcare administrator and I worked in a level one trauma center where I used to help people. Well, my job now is that I continue to help people, just in a different way. You know, I used to manage nurses and doctors and make sure that they had all the tools they needed to succeed and take care of patients so they could get to feeling better. Now, what I do is I take my experiences and the experiences and stories of others, and I put them out into the world so that they may help others, whether it be with a physical sickness, a mental sickness, a spiritual sickness or illness. But essentially, I help people in the same way, only my reach is a lot greater because I can reach way more countries and people through the airwaves and the internet than I ever could in the 2 clinics I managed with the people I came in contact with daily.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
I actually wanted to retire from the military and then more than likely become a federal agent.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Did you pursue anything like that?
I was. I graduated high school a year early, joined the military, and, quickly learned that I operate well in those environments, but I'm not very good at taking orders, I guess you could say. It's not that I'm not good at taking orders. I'm actually a very good doer. I can be very disagreeable. If I don't believe in something, I don't do things just because somebody tells me to do it, just because you outrank me, just because you think you're smarter than me or something. Um, to me, it's like if we're working on a project together, whether in the military or whatever, um, we're working together and we should be able to express if something's a dumb idea. Everything shouldn't have to boil down to um, you do it because I say you do it because I outrank you or I'm above you or I'm this or I'm that. So I just wasn't very suited for that and kind of the same in corporate. They always say I need to work on my soft skills. Maybe I disagree. Maybe people need to work better on receiving um, real feedback.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's my soft skills, other than I'm just telling the truth as it is aligned to me and what I believe in. And that's doing the right thing. Doing the right thing's never going to go out of style.
So, talk to me a little bit about how you got these seeds that got you into healthcare and disseminating your message now. Take me back to where you were born and raised, and how did it all kind of get harvested and grow into you today?
Well, I was a super sick child. Grew up, I spent months in the hospital from being burned as a child. And then I grew up with asthma. So I was always taking medicine, going to the doctors. About 10 years old, my mom got a job at the hospital I was born at. And she's been in healthcare for, uh, close to 40 years, 38 years. And so I would say whenever I came back from the military, I briefly worked in the emergency room, and it was there I decided I wanted to go back to college. I wanted to become a physician. And it was in that process of studying, I decided I took healthcare law and was like, um, I don't necessarily want to be a physician. And then some of my mentors and professors who wrote my letters of recommendation, they were like, I don't think you'll be able to be the physician you want to be because, um, administration has all these rules and they tell you how many patients you need to see. And, you're not going to be able to go in depth as you would like. And so, um, took a little pause. I was a personal trainer for a while because I worked at a gym as an undergrad and health and kines was my bachelor's degree into potential med school. And so I've always had this kind, caring, compassionate, want to serve and help people. I was a trainer. I worked in fitness, mixed martial arts at a gym, and then ended up in a level one trauma center. And that kind of started my 12-year, this last stint career. Um, and, I've always said that I think healthcare chose me. I think as caregivers, it's who we are. I don't think it's what we do. And so I feel like these seeds have always been planted in me because I can remember as a young person going to the doctor and seeing people in wheelchairs and whatnot and going, no matter how bad life is or can get, people will cling on to it and hold on as long and hard as they can because they don't know what's on the other side. And so, that I can remember at a very young age understanding that that's what life meant, how precious it was. And so I think, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's something you're born with, if it's something that's nurtured because I saw it in my family. But, like I said before, in wanting to be in the military and potentially be a federal agent, I would say that somewhere inside of me, the idea of service has always been there to help others, to help less fortunate, to help fight for the underdog. And I would say kind of, it ties in to the same thing as a podcaster is helping others, encouraging others to kind of take that step, take that leap, take a chance and just go for it. You never know, you don't know
Absolutely.
unless you try.
For
And so,
sure.
yeah, in the midst of everything that happened to me, it's like I needed direction to go, and um, podcasting was the way,
So,
you know?
yeah, so who's been a hero for you? Who's been someone that's been an inspiration in your life?
Man, wow. Well, I would definitely say my mother for sure, just because she's very old school. She has none of the same thoughts that I do. She is she comes from a generation of she's able to just go and do and make a difference as an interpreter and stuff and helping Spanish speaking people within the hospital and whatnot. Um, but her ability, being a father myself and having sick children, knowing what a sick child I was, how she was able to do all the things she did as a mother, as a wife, and, as a worker out there serving people, um, and never complained. Um, I wish that sometimes what I do for a living didn't have to be fully aligned with me, that I could compartmentalize enough and just go, hey, this is just my job and what I do, and this is separate from my life. But she kind of really exemplifies that. And sometimes I wish I had a little more of it.
So, if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating or have a dream guest on your show, who would that be?
Man, wow. Gosh, that is that's a tough one. I would maybe I'd probably say like another podcaster, like I love the Sean Ryan show. Sean Ryan, I
Yeah.
think, or Mike Ritland. They're both kind of military podcasters, long form interviewers, which is similar style that I like. Um, I have that military background. I believe in that kind of stuff. I believe in service and, support those who raise their right hand and uh, give the ultimate sacrifice so we can do what we're doing right here, right now. Um, and the way I love their podcasts. I love the way they interview, and I just I love what they're about. And
Yeah.
I think there's typical responses that could be like, yeah, I think Joe Rogan's interesting, and there's some other people, but in terms of a person who has you know, I think there's a funny factor, a seriousness factor, but then also a relational factor in having served, not at their level, but that and podcasting interview styles and what they're about. I Yeah, I could definitely see myself sitting with them and hashing it up a little deeper.
Yeah. So what is your drive every day, your motivation every day to get up, to do your show, to help people, to get the information out there? What is that drive?
Right now, the word that comes to mind is freedom. The the lifestyle I currently have, that's what keeps me going because before this, my lifestyle was very I was always obligated to be somewhere for someone, at a certain time, and oftentimes 24 hours a day. When you manage ambulatory facilities, if your doctor's sick and calls in at 2 in the morning, guess who's gotta start working on rescheduling 20-something patients, and who has to disseminate that information, and how do you do that? And you don't want people showing up, and if you do, maybe you can squeeze them onto someone else's schedule. So, you know, I can remember my daughter when I applied back to the same organization that laid me off, she's like, "Do you really want 2 AM phone calls again? Do you wanna be doing payroll at Disney?" Now, yesterday I got to take my daughter and her friend for a play date. I got to spend all day Wednesday with my daughter hanging out. Um, you know, that it's the I get to be the father, the husband, all the things I want to be. I get to dress the way I want, talk the way I want. I get to invest my time in things and people that I find value in.
Yeah.
And I don't have to compromise on that. And so it's that freedom of lifestyle that really keeps me getting up every day and kind of keeps me jazzed and energized and ready to do because, um, a lot of people don't realize the amount of work that can go in a podcast. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's just not the conversation. And, I've sat for 12 hours, but it doesn't feel like the 12 hours I used to sit doing healthcare
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
I find it way more fulfilling, and so I think that freedom and fulfillment is is definitely the key piece of what drives me daily. And you know because every time I think of, hey, is it where I want it to be, consider throwing in the towel. And then I look at how my day is designed and go, wow, look at all the things I got to do today. I got to go to the gym. I got to have a, interesting conversation with somebody. I got to spend time with my daughter. I got to spend time with my wife. Um, I checked all the boxes I wanted to check, and, that's just great. And that is what always says, no, just keep going. Trust, have faith, keep going. Um, Things take time. It's been about a year. I started a little over a year ago. And so I feel like I got the podcast piece down. I'm in the process of standing up a private accountability group to supplement the podcast. And so year two is going to be work on getting that up to go with the podcast. And then, at some point, hopefully they'll merge together, support each other. But yeah, it's just the process, and I'm trying to enjoy it and be patient, and just remind myself that, it doesn't happen overnight. But hey, if you, just like I lost 47 pounds, I just woke up one day and looked different
Yeah.
in the past year and a half. I didn't notice the small changes. So I kind of just apply that same principle of, if I can be consistent and enjoy it and enjoy the process of it. Um, I hit a year, I had 59 episodes, gave 8 guest appearances. So it's like, hey, we'll see what year two happens. You wake up and just keep putting in the steps, and as long as I enjoy it, I'll continue to do it.
Yeah. So, what are you the proudest of? Everything that you've done and evolved into and been through in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Ah, well, definitely, if you look at a totality of things, I would say getting right here, right now, to this moment, the progress, especially in the past, I would say 4 to 6 months. But if you look at the progress of the podcast and you listen to beginning episodes and you look at the end product and you can notice all the progression. But, yeah, I'm proud of getting my master's degree, while being a father of a 1 year old, relocating and juggling all these different things. But, the reason I can say I'm proud of kind of the growth in the past 4 to 6 months as a podcaster in this new venture is because, really, any of the other things I could be most proud of in the past were probably some of the necessary things to happen to get me to here. It was all that work I did on my master's degree that taught me what I was capable of, and taught me that just like the podcast, if you just do the work, hold on for dear life, try to keep your head above water. In a year, year and a half, you can look back and whether it's the 59 episodes that are completed and everything, how it's progressed, or whether you got your master's degree out of it. Um, you woke up one day and it was over. All the work had finally paid off. But then now you're at a new level, and now the real work begins again. So, yeah, I would say definitely the moment in time and making it a year as a podcaster, the amount of episodes, but definitely the progress from an audio only to both audio and video, all the stuff I've learned, all the work I've put in, and kind of how I've managed it and kept myself accountable in doing so.
Sure.
Um, because a lot of people, that's why they're not successful, regardless of what it is they don't maintain that consistency or they don't see the results soon enough and they give up. But, you know, the results are, some of the things like looking good is a byproduct of the consistency of eating right and exercising. Um, whether it's numbers and whatnot, that's the byproduct of being consistent and putting in the work, daily. Um, and we just never know sometimes when it's going to happen, whether it's a one episode that takes off, a post, or you wake up and you look different. And so I think that's why it's important to kind of keep your mindset straight, keep putting one foot in front of the other. And, you're never going to reach the destination if you quit or give up.
Sure.
So, you know, just keep going.
For sure. So, Richard, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your listeners, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a kind, caring, compassionate person, who loves the world, who loves other people, and I would just I want to see people um, bond over curiosity and love for their fellow human man as opposed to what's different about us. We're all the same. We all want to love and be loved. And that's kind of who I am and um, who I've always been. You know, I just want to be out there, meet good people, and encourage other people to do the same because we're all in this together. We all get the same ending. Nobody escapes it, regardless of your status, your bank account, any of that. And so I think it's about, hey, let's focus on what's really important, not all the stuff we think is important.
Well said. Absolutely. Totally agree. If anyone wants to listen to your show, reach out, learn more about you, your history, where can they go?
Yes, I have a link tree. It is in any of my bios, the Men of the House podcast. In that link tree, you can contact me. You can find everywhere the show is offered. But if you look up the Men of the House podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, any of those, YouTube, you'll find me and a link tree. Link will be in any of those, and feel free to DM. Um, hit the link tree, contact me directly by email, especially if you'd be interested in some private accountability group. It's something I had to do for myself, but I want to do it for others. And I'm taking beta testers right now, and for the beta testers, it will be free for life. So, as opposed to a paid service, so an opportunity to get in on the ground floor and help start this thing and be a part of something. Not just, for yourself, but for others, because it's going to be a group collaboration type of thing.
Right on. Man, I love your energy. I love your message. Richard, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time today. Keep doing the excellent work and keep up the podcast, man.
Well, thank you, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yes,
Have a
sir.
good one.